think I can call these mid-year reviews anymore because it's legit March. So let's call this after we've done a bunch of lessons review. Does that work? All right, so we're gonna go over today some of our Spanish 1 resources that we use this year. Some of this is gonna be appropriate for high schoolers, some for middle schoolers, and even a couple of resources that will be good for upper elementary as well. So there may be a little bit of something for everyone, so stick around with me.
Foggy mornings are where I begin. Conversations I can never win, but it's not a competition. Though if it was, I'm losing.
Welcome back, friends. If you're brand new to my channel, my name is Arlene with Arlene & Company. As I said before, we're going to review our resources for Spanish 1 for this year. Now, not everything is high school level, so even if you have a younger kiddo, stick around with me because I will show you a few options. I'm going to actually start from the bottom up and start with the program that could be available for younger students, and then work my way up to high school. Now, to be fully transparent, for Avancemos, just to let you know, if you do not speak Spanish or comfortable enough, you as the teacher, and you're not able to source the audio component of this, which I didn't search for it really because I speak Spanish. It's actually my first language. So I didn't find it or anything like that, but there is an online component that does that kind of support. If you're not able to source that, I would find this a little bit difficult to lead, especially if your student has never taken Spanish before and would not be able to kind of be a little bit self-directed with the instructions. Now, that's not to say it would be impossible. I just would find that to be a little bit. Something else that we have been testing out, not because we don't like this, because I really love the structure of this and the content and how things are laid out, but because of time management, being a work-at-home mom and having other responsibilities and time crunches and stuff, kind of not every single subject to require as much from me. So we're testing something out. I may fully fall back and just do this Spanish 2, and this does come in Spanish 1, Spanish 2, Spanish 3, and Spanish 4. We're going to get into that in a little bit. So let's start right here. Now this one, I sourced from Rainbow Resource. I love Rainbow Resource. I've been shopping with them since the beginning. All right, it's nice the way they lay out their catalogs. It's not always fully accurate when they designate something secular or neutral or whatever it is. I find some things that are truly secular and they say neutral, but I do appreciate the effort and how easy it is to navigate their page and, you know, obviously just double check if, you know, those things matter to your family. All right, so this one is called Getting Started with Spanish, Beginning Spanish for Homeschoolers and Self-Taught Students of Any Age. This is not a full Spanish curricula or anything like that, but I find it, especially like you guys that do morning baskets and stuff like that, or some kind of morning warm-up, not us. If you do any of that, this would be something that'd be cool for you to add to your basket time, morning time, or anything like that as a family. And it will be like a gentle little introduction that maybe you can use this to prepare your kiddo prior to having a formal Spanish course. Now I did see it in another language. I want to say French, maybe some other things, but they have it in Rainbow Resource.
A note from the editing room. Rainbow Resource has this available in French, Greek, Latin, and German. So go ahead and check it out if you're interested in another language.
So check that out. All right, so this is recommended for grades 4 and up. I think there's wiggle room there, to be honest with you. So again, this format, and I want to show you. Now this allows you to download a free MP3 files and it will tell you right there so that you can make sure that you're pronouncing things correctly. Again, that's not something I needed to look at. Spanish is my first language, so it wasn't something I looked at or anything like that. But they do have that component that you can go ahead and download those audio files and to be able to support you. Now, these are very simple lessons that you can do together, like I said, as a family. And let me just show you a little bit. There is an introduction of how to use this book. Then lessons 1 through 177. What I found with this, and I just flagged the specific page just so I can show you something. But what I found, one every other day, however you want to do, and that can span you through the entire school year if you do it that way. My kiddos, they kind of just wanted to keep going, and we would do like 10, 20 a day. And not to say that they absolutely retain that. I wouldn't recommend to do it in that format, but they were just really excited about it. So they did several a day, but you really, if you pace it out one a day, that would be a good pace, 1 or 2 maybe. You have some general advice, the answer key. There is a pronunciation guide here, and like I said, you can go ahead and download the files for free for the accompanying pronunciations and such. Again, you have the new word, the pronunciation, the grammatical information, and the exercise. This again is not a full Spanish course in my book. Maybe it would be for your intentions, it may be, but for high school, there's certain elements that need to be included. Communication components, the grammar components, and written components, and all that stuff to be a full Spanish credit. If you're not trying to follow that mold, is totally cool. I'm just letting you know. You have tests and quizzes, scheduling, how much time per day. They recommend just a few minutes a day. Super simple. Like this is literally lesson 1, and then it's article. It has I like how it introduces the topic or the lesson with the English equivalent to it. So not just like this English where it means that, but actually giving you the grammatical example of the grammar example of it, right? So a noun is a person, place, or thing. Each of the example above, we use the article to introduce each noun. In the next few lessons, we'll learn how to articles in Spanish. So basically, you're just touching on this lesson, like what an article is, and then how that translates into Spanish, right? So here, we talk about like this is a huge thing with when you're studying Spanish, how it varies. The is always the same. No matter what the word is introduces, the word the is always just the. In Spanish, however, there's more than one the. So el is the masculine form and la is the feminine form, right? So, and then you have a little charts and things like that to keep track, but they interweave the grammar components in English seamlessly, and then go ahead and give you the equivalent and the why. So not just like this word means that and you're just going to memorize it. It actually explains it. So I do appreciate how this book is laid out. As simplistic as it is, I think it's a great way to kick off or get kiddos ready for a formal Spanish course. And then again, you continue. So I just flag here just so you can see. Okay, so here masculine, hermana is feminine. So this is, the different exercises that they would do. For example, this they have learned throughout the other lessons, and then it continues to build, and then they would exercise these things. And the answers are on page 220. So we would look at 9. So they're going to be translating this exercise, what these words mean. And we just did it orally, hermano. And then they would just take turns. Even though my daughter was doing that full Spanish course, I kind of just wanted to weave in my son as well. He's still doing Hebrew. Once he's done with that next year, then he'll move into Spanish, right? So hermano. And here you would see that in lesson 9, that means brother. And a brother, the girl, and all that stuff. So you're doing the pieces that will compose those full sentences as you continue to learn. So it does incorporate the grammar component, which is important with a foreign language, right? It's not just conversation and that's it, but understanding all these elements that they may be tested on in the future if you do credit by exams, or AP, if you do AP classes or stuff like that, or trying to get credit for that in a different way. So I do find that this book was really nice. I think we're almost completely through it. I marked the page somewhere, and I think I lost the flag. Anywho, so here you can see just a little further down. So you have the new word, the meaning. Study the different forms of yo camino, which means I walk, with this chart. So first person, singular and plural. So nosotros caminamos, vosotros. this is in Spain. So this is a part that I wanted also to touch, because a lot of these textbooks or programs in Spanish, and especially in foreign language, have Spain Spanish, right? And it is very different than people like from the Caribbean, that it presents these things like, hey, this is in Spain. They would say vosotros caminan, use the second person. So it does have really actually point that out. And one of the things I was looking for when I was looking for a Spanish program is I did not Spain Spanish. Grades 4 all the way up, so any age. So that is what is recommended with getting started. Now, one of the other resources I have here before we hit Avancemos, which is going to take me a little to go through. I'll try to make this not painfully long, is Spanish grammar drills. This is from McGraw-Hill. I saw this again in Rainbow Resource, and I thought, this is cool for like extra practice and stuff like that. Once I saw the content of it and went through all the pages, I really decided that, you know what, she needs a little bit more Spanish under her belt before she dives into this type of workbook. So this would be expecting a little bit too much from her at this point. Anyway, so you have streaming audio for the answers here that you can have with the app. You can record yourself, flashcards, interactive quizzes. So it's pretty rad, right? And they do have another one, which I may grab the verb drills and the vocabulary drills, so you can see those. I know that the Rainbow has this one. I'm not sure if they have this one, but I'm gonna double check. Again, these are fairly inexpensive. This is $18, but I believe I did not pay that much. I think it was less, and I sourced it new. So this one is Spanish drills that features 200 exercising covering all aspects of Spanish grammar system, clear instructions, numerous examples, review exercises, and the answer keys are all intermediate. So that is what they recommend. Now, when I look into McGraw-Hill itself, this set is recommended for grades 9 to 12. I am going to show you inside and let you decide if this is something you feel that your middle school can handle. Maybe they've been taking Spanish since they were little, and not my kids. Listen, they actually, when they were in a private school, they were taking Spanish, but it just didn't stick. And that was one of the balls I dropped. It's not like I was trying either. I literally, my daughter is dyslexic and stuff. I just had other things that took priority. And judge me or not, all the Spanish speaking moms actually get to it. So that's why we're doing 4 years of Spanish, to make up for my wrongdoings. Anyways, so here you have the table of contents, just so you can quickly see how it flows intermittently. So here is how you would see this. So this page is obviously more than this getting started book that I showed you. And it goes straight into, the grammar, like, let's go. So ser is connected with what the subject is, what the subject is like. It gives you the explanation straight using the Spanish Spanish language, versus this one that starts with the English translation of the grammar component. This one just uses the Spanish word and then explains it in English what it means, and then you go straight into some practice verses. So like, now that you see just this lesson 1, you can maybe understand why I felt like I wanted her to have 1 year under her belt before trying to throw in this additional practice, right? Because I thought like this one kind of assumes a little bit more of higher level of foundation, right? So eso es un reloj, that is a clock. Ella es una enfermera, she is a nurse. So here we'll give you the example. That is also used as an adjective. So again, and also this actually helps even within your own English grammar, because you were reading the translations of this and then kind of just reinforcing your grammar as a whole. All right, so once you have like the tidbit that is the lesson itself, and have the practice, you have the access on the app to streaming the audios for answers and things like that, or to record yourself for better pronunciation. So you can use that if nobody in your house speaks Spanish or has any experience. First exercise, which is a fill in the blank. A little bit from fill in the blanks to actually having you translate the sentence and stuff like that. Do I feel like this is necessary if you have a full Spanish program? Depends on which Spanish program you are using. If they're kind of light on the grammar component and you want to make sure that you're really adequately justifying that Spanish credit, then this may be a great thing to add to you. I don't love it. I don't hate it. So I kind of just feel, okay, this is good, but it did not give me what I really called beginning and intermediate. I feel like this is more intermediate. So if you have like a kiddo that's intermediate, that's where I would follow this into, and I feel more comfortable saying that. Beginner, I think it would be a little bit more of a challenge unless you're really working through it together. So yeah, I mean, that's my take on it. I'm not really sure that this is something that I would continue to grab, but I feel like this is something that could also last you more than a school year, and you can work through it over several years. It's nicely laid out, and I like the purpose of it, and it could be great for a lot of families. It just didn't serve our intentions of what I needed for it for this year, so it was a little bit more in the intermediate level for my thinking. I could be totally wrong. You hold a different opinion, but that's just mine. All right, so let's get to the actual curricula. This is Avancemos. Avancemos is available for your middle school child, which is divided into 1A, 1B. That's the difference. I will let you know she did do the high school, or doing the high school level. I'll let you know the difference and why I sourced it this way. So 1A and 1B would be like, your 7th, 8th grader. And in some places you are able to do a high school foreign language and get credit for that, for early high school credit, which is what we're doing, either 7th or 8th grade. That varies for state, so just make sure you check with that. Anyway, so we have Avancemos 1. This is level 1. There's level 2, level 3, and level 4. My plans is to take all 4 years of high school. We're not required to do anything because in the state of Florida, homeschoolers are not told what courses they have to take to graduate the child. But if you're looking at state universities and stuff, there is some requirements they have for admissions, and that is what we go for, which means that in turn, we end up doing the courses that is required of public school high school students. All right, so the 1A, 1B is the exact same content for this edition. It's not the same content as the one that is combined of one level. So this 2 books would be in one level, which you see that I got the teacher edition and the 1, right? So they have the teacher edition in 1A and 1B too. The only reason I got it in the split, not is because I needed the slower pace, it was because this was cheaper. It was cheaper, these 2 available on thrift books, versus grabbing the Spanish 1 student text in one book. The content is the same. The ones that are split like this, it just has like a pace difference to make it more appropriate for a middle school child. So if you're, depending on how old your kiddo is, that it would be that. So I'm going to show you the teacher edition afterwards. We're going to look at 1A and 1B here. And again, let me just show you. I'll go into this more in detail later on this video. The scope and sequence differs here a little bit with levels 1A and 1B, how it's split. And then here is level 1. You will see that you're covering the same, you have the theme, the vocabulary, the grammar, and recycling component. So you have Nueva York, Estados Unidos, Mexico, Puerto Rico, España, Ecuador, República Dominicana, which I love that. I never really hardly see that in Spanish programs that, are, the República Dominicana is actually covered. Argentina, Costa Rica. So you have the 8 units here. So you see there's still 8 units here, but the pacing is just slightly, it's a little bit different, right? So if you're trying to look at that scope and seeing, which one or the other, if you don't mind going a little bit faster, which you actually can pace it yourself. This is not a classroom environment. You can do that. Then you see what's covered in level 2. Again, the one element that I really like about Avancemos is how it's representing different places and countries and stuff as you're learning the language. So Florida, Costa Rica, Argentina, Puerto Rico, Mexico, España, Estados Unidos, República Dominicana, and Ecuador again. And then level US again, Centroamérica, El Caribe. And then level 4, you have el mundo del trabajo, so the world of work, ejercicio y diversión, so outdoor sports and exercise and stuff like that. Diversión debajo del techo, so you see la aventura de viajar, so the adventure of traveling, cómo es nuestra sociedad, familia, sociedad, cómo es nuestra sociedad, how is our society, and things like that. Hablemos de arte, let's talk about art. Divertirse and informarse, so let's have fun and get sections on level 4 look quite different than the other years, just to keep that in mind if you're moving into something else. So here, I just wanted to show you this page before we get to here. You have one complete program for middle school through level 4. So here, the 1B is designed for middle school and more appropriate visuals for the middle school students. So that's where you would see that difference there. And then they prepare students for level 2. So you're not gonna go from here straight into here if you go and have this. So regardless of which route you take, you are still gonna end up in the same destination. So level 1 introduces students to the culture and language of the Spanish-speaking world in 8 manageable units. To provide flexibility, the pacing options, the materials taught in units 7 and 8 is fully spiraled in level 2. So that's how you can see how they will flow and translate to one another. So here you're gonna have a little bit, the pacing is gonna be a little bit different. This is going to have more practice. It's going to have some more games and some more visuals, but the content itself is the same. And then level 2, level 3, and level 4 reviews and expands upon the content from the first 3 levels as students go to master more advanced language skills. So I really like this. I don't feel like I really want to abandon this, but I want to have something else in the backup in case I don't want Spanish to fall off the game just because I didn't have time to teach it that day. All right, so let's look really quick into a student book. This is Spanish 1A, so let's call it the first semester. All right, so you have your table of contents, which is you're going to be learning about some cultural aspects along the way, and it's going to be taught through whatever location you are. So I really do appreciate that. So one of the things that you do not have access to because you're sourcing this use, unless you are able to find or where you can get access to the CDs or DVDs and stuff like that, gonna have that audio support, right? Unless you can source that. So I want to be perfectly clear about that. Celebraciones, so celebrations, and the first one you're gonna go is Nueva York. That's where we're from. That's where I'm from, and we know if you know stuff that you're just gonna ignore because you're probably not gonna have access to that. But here I want to show you how it all is laid out. So you have the lessons, and then you have units. You have La Cultura, which you're going to be learning at certain celebrations and things like that as you're going about different parts of the world. So I love the integration of learning the culture at the same time as the language and the significance of pronunciation guide and all that. Again, this is a textbook form, so you're going to have all that mumble jumbo you always get in the front. Historia. So this is gonna usually start with some kind of story. Here again, if you can source the video. And she says, "Hi, my name is Alicia," and I did see the samples with the videos. They're pretty rad. So it'd be pretty cool if that place that I did see that was offering it, if they're offering the full bundle. I don't know if they're allowed. Alicia, my family and I live in Miami, Florida. So it's gonna start a story, obviously in the English, and you're gonna follow her around. So follow along in Avancemos la Historia to find out what happens to Alicia's t-shirt as it travels from country to country. So I love that story embedded within the story. I just love that element of it, and I think it's super fun. So level 1A and level 1B. So you're gonna go to San Antonio, Mexico, Puerto Rico, Spain, Ecuador, Argentina, Dominican Republic and Costa Rica. It's going to tell you some words to Spanish. This is just a little introduction. Explore the community, experience new perspective, create career possibilities, and then there's a letter to the student. I do appreciate those things. Modes of communication, what it is. So this is all part of introductions. How do I become proficient, and just giving them tips throughout. Then they're going to have this little map so they can see, like, as they're studying Spanish, the different areas that they're focusing on. So you will have a map to all of that here, right embedded in your textbook. So I really like that. Then you have the table of contents, and in this section, every single month, so let's say you start this in August, you're going to have a different celebration to look at. So I'm looking at different things. So Noviembre, Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead, Las Navidades, and all that stuff. So you're going to have all this to look at per month. So if you keep the same pace, or maybe you missed it, but that's okay, you can go back, you can look at these components as well. So here is the first one for Agosto, which is August. And then again, you have these little supported online elements that you unfortunately won't have access to unless you can source it. Feria de Malaga is going to tell you about that and spread it out and give you that cultural information on these different celebrations. And then it's going to add some vocabulary for something they've ever taken or know how to pronounce these things, or to how to break it down to read it, then they're going to need you. So this is where I would say that it may be a little bit difficult if Spanish has never been something you've touched. That it may be a little bit difficult for you without that audio. Again, in September, so you're going to see all the different celebrations up front. So it's not embedded into each different lessons. You can just go back to those celebrations and as you're studying throughout the year. All right, so you have all those Carnaval. Like you can see, they're vivid photographs. It's very, very engaging to look at. It makes it exciting to want to come back to it instead of just like a blank screen that you're repeating, dull phrases after dull phrases and things like that. So I really appreciate that. So here is your first lesson. So your first lesson is broken down. You will see the location of where we are at, modes of communication. You're gonna see what the theme is, tema, hola. Avanzar, let's get started, greet people, say goodbye, introduce yourself and others, ask and say how to spell names, say where you are from, exchange phone numbers, say what day of the week it is, describe the weather. See, my brain fails me right there. Classroom instructions. And here you have some pictures and a little bit about New York City and the Hispanic population. Like I said, I was born in Manhattan, raised in the Bronx. Modes of communication and stuff, as I said before. So now the first task of the first lesson is that we're going to say hi, right? So that's a great place to start. Let's say hi. So the goal is going to be laid out for you, and then you're going to have like these little guided, kind of like a little bit of a graphic novel that you're just following icons to hear the audio. So this is where if you don't have it, you don't have it, right? But you can read this and say, Hola, ¿cómo está? Bien, ¿y tú? Mal, and then you go from there. Like it doesn't say bien, it says mal. Then here you're gonna read some dialogue. So Juan, hola Miguel, ¿qué tal? Miguel, hola, ¿qué pasa? So again, you're doing this part and listening and stuff like that. So if you can't leave this, Again, this is really for someone that has taken Spanish before, or if it's their language, because if you don't have the audio, you're going to be a little lost with those sections. So, leer, muy bien. So, complete each expression, ¿cómo está? And then you complete it. Then here, escribe, you're going to write. Create a conversation to complete the speech bubbles of this cartoon strip. I don't have my kiddos write on any books, but they can write it in notebooks and things like that. And then here, nombres de chicos, nombres de chicas, and then has different way, to practice saying different names. And then notes, buenos dias. So, it has enough of English that you know what's happening, obviously. Did you get it? And then some reinforcements, and then you go into the next part. So then there's a mixture structures of different levels of assignments and stuff, that it goes from oral to written to multiple choice to, you know, different ways of looking at it. So it's not just the same redundant stuff. So conversación, leer, escribir, so the conversation, mucho gusto. So you're following a conversation and the normal prompts that happens. And then comparación cultura, then it's going to bring back some cultural elements again. And then here, para y piensa, like stop and think. Did you get it? Complete each statement. And then it's going to just basically have your student rehash and redo those things that they have just learned. All right. So again, here you have the next lesson. And again, this is where the audio plays in. And then a pronunciation. Now, I've seen people get pretty creative of sourcing these things, because I think once upon a time it was on a CD. So if you can find that used, that'd be cool. All right, so this is how this goes. I believe Avancemos, and the reason I know about it is because don't quote me on this, I'm pretty sure I saw that Oak Meadow used to use Avancemos with their enrolled students. They use something different now, but I could have sworn that's where I saw it from, and that's how I find out about that. So they have the Práctica Gramática, which is like the grammar practice is all woven in, which is where it satisfies all the requirements, vocabulary, conversation, and grammar components, and written as well, for a credit for a lot of places. Now, again, don't quote me and say, oh, Arlene, you don't need it, all this. Or I know, but I am following what I need to do for them to have the required courses that they need for admissions in where we are, because really they're looking for two consecutive the same language, 2 consecutive years of the same language in the state of Florida, and I said we're doing 4. Those additional 2s, yes, will count as electives, right? So there was a little clarification that someone had on one of my videos where I said we were planning the outline for the mapping the 4 years of high school, and there was a clip where I showed I was conversing with my daughter and breaking down the different credits and stuff, and I was just like, just sharing little pieces, and one of the part was where she said 8 electives, and I said yeah, and then I just cut off the rest because obviously I had to but I did not mean that she would need 8 additional credits. I meant that was the breakdown, and she understood that, so I know it's not 8 additional. I do appreciate the person that pointed that out, but I'm good. I appreciate you, but I'm good. I know they don't need an additional 8 on top. So all these extra classes that we're doing will count as an elective. So those additional 2 years are elective. Those additional fine art courses that we are only required to do 1 here, those are elective. So again, we've already got to meet them, but we're also going to surpass our minimum 24 credit requirements. Again, I'm not saying anything. I appreciate the person that pointed that out in case it wasn't clear. All right, so here is a teacher guide. Like I said, I already showed the scope and sequence, which I think is very cool that they include the scope and sequence of the other levels. Here we already saw the flow. So when you're looking, you can look at thrift books if you feel like, I am comfortable enough to pronounce these things with my daughter or my child, or maybe I can get creative in whatever needs to be done. So here, if you're not familiar with school textbooks, you'll see that you have the mini version of what is in their student text, and in the margins you will see instructions for you, the teacher. So it's going to break down all the different elements of what each parts are for you, the educators. So Avancemos lets your student know what they will learn and why. Lessons are based on themes that are relevant to the student. It's going to break everything down. So if you do something like this and you think, I think we can handle it, I really like how this is taught and we can handle it, I do not suggest skipping the teacher manual, because especially if Spanish is not your language, this can be very helpful, right? So here's the digital components that's going to break it all down. So it's going to tell you everything that is included in the text and what it all means and what it's reinforcing. So you see like all the little flags of what it does, the video program element, home tutor, show the telehistoria, or simply view scene 3. So they can view the video if you have the online access. They really need to make this available for homeschoolers, because I think it's such a cool resource. And if they like Savas, that we can buy the whole thing with the online thing, this would be pretty rad if, HMH, if you're listening. No, they're not. They don't know I'm alive. Anyways, so you have all those things, and you have cultural references. I really like that section, that's even there. You have the breakdown of what your student's going to be actually seeing. So this is again a duplicate of what you see in the student text. Why study Spanish that they do. And I already had a flag there, so I don't know why I'm doing all this. First celebration for August, right? So feria, you have the objectives, presentation strategies. It tells you 20-minute lesson, just a guesstimate. Again, this is for a classroom environment, so maybe a lot less for you. 15-minute lesson. Celebrated music, food, dancing and stuff. And what I did, and my son actually like tagged along, is we looked it up because we don't have access to like all the videos. We looked it up and we watched some YouTube videos about the feria and all that stuff, and we had a cool discussion, and that was like our opening thing for this lesson. So I do find that I was able to easily supplement if Curricula connections is going to be evident. And then bridging cultures, this is for heritage language learners and English learners. So some words in this mini lessons have multiple regional meanings. For example, feria can mean small change in Mexico, and tip or gratuity in Central America. Helps students identify the meaning of the word. So this is what we were talking about, like the different dialects of Spanish and stuff, and how to me like if I went in for a credit by exam, it's gonna be in a different Spanish that I know, right? So that to me is cool how they point out those heritage language learners components, right? This is the lesson overview as you go into your first one. So culture at a glance, topic and activity, essential questions. So you're going to have that grounding question that is going to center your whole entire lesson. A mural in New York, and then how can artists give back to their neighborhoods through their work. Beyond like your online courses that to me are dull. I know that some people love them. I don't know, maybe it's just because it's my language, and I just find I wanted something that was interesting. So here you have the vocabulary, the objectives, activities, and skill. So here you're gonna have the listening, writing, speaking components, and you're gonna see weather expressions, days of the week, numbers, and all that jazz. Communication, you're gonna greet people and text and audio scripts. So this is the part that you most likely will not have access to. I think I was able to get like a sample and with HMH, and I was able to view a lot of this stuff temporarily. So that was cool. But again, I did that just so I can see what's on the other side. Resource list, how you're assessing all that stuff that may not mean anything to you. Here is a core pacing guide. So the lesson days are all going to be broken down for you. So this is like 50 minutes 9 days, 90 minutes 5 days, and different ways that you can break that up. Again, take that timing with a grain of salt because it's not going to take you as long as in a classroom setting. Here you're going to have the breakdown to the first lesson, which we saw in the student text. This is what your students see. This is the information for you. All right, so objective, presentation strategies, exploring the theme, digital Spanish. So this is the other digital tools that you may not have access to, and using the photos, location information, expanded informations. And then again, these multiple visual learners and heritage language learners components. So here you have what I showed you before. Again, you have the standards collected if you care about that. Pair work, students should go around the room and practice or mini conversations. Espresso is going to give you tips of how they can actually apply this in practice, and things like treat you like you know nothing too. And it's going to give you like, things that should be a given, the answers to that. All right, so here is the next set of lesson. And then you don't have to do, as a homeschool, you don't have to do every single element that's here, but here's your warm up, and then this is like gives you like if you're doing a projector or transparencies or stuff like that, you can do that. All right, so that is how this continues on. As you can see, all the lessons are going to be broken down just the same way. It's going to have quite a bit of information for you and give you the full nitty-gritty of it. Now there is activities and things like that, so like projects, there's some research. There's bulletin board things if you have a schoolroom. We do not. Games as well, recipes that you can incorporate as well per unit, and there's going to have like that information there. Now, if you get the teacher guide that is 1A, 1B, you may have a little bit more activities and games and stuff like that in this teacher guide as well. This was fine for us, and I was looking for high school credit, and that's it. So for me, that setup is fine because we're going to this share when I source these things that I use what edition I have. This is edition for copyright of 2018. I made sure that even though this is not 1A, 1B, that my books were also for my student texts were correlating as match things up. So this is 2018 as well. So my student text is 2018. My textbooks are also 2018 copyright. They have multiple years of this, so you kind of just make sure that you source the same years for level 2 and up. It will be only one textbook. I would recommend comfortably read the Spanish words and instructions there and feel comfortable enough supporting their child in that way, or they've taken Spanish before and can decipher words to read. If you have not touched Spanish at all, I think this would be a little bit difficult for you. Something that really like you're a Spanish speaker. This for an intermediate learner sure can help support them quite a bit. I really enjoy, and I think anyone that's interested, and I think that this is great for anyone that's interested. And there's my voice, so I am done. Okay, so if you have any questions, let me know. We are looking at something else for next year. Even though I really like the structure of this, I just need something that I can gain some of my time back, and I'm gonna explore that. But I don't know. You'll have to stick around for my Curricula pick videos and see if we stay with Avancemos or we move on to something else. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you have any questions, leave them down below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and that bell on. I truly appreciate your presence, and make sure to tell your friends that I'm here. Thank you so much.
My brain is in a panic. I'm going manic. Okay.